Hi, I'm Greg Otterholt, journalist and media consultant for Deterrence Specialties and the ProV2. In broadcasting, we often see a lot of heartbreaking stories of crime, assault, negligence, even death, and of course, regret, as hindsight often gives us a better perspective and the luxury of time to sift through all the facts and what-ifs. In the heat of the moment, though, when you're the one in the situation needing to make split-second decisions of how to defend yourself and others, no matter what device you might be carrying, wisdom is your best weapon. This is the ProV2. It's not a weapon. This is wisdom in a white thermoplastic vulcanizate container. And yes, I did say Vulcan, and it's not too far off from the truth. This sci-fi looking device is the future. Its laser-guided, Bluetooth-enabled, multi-layer de-escalation system is the next step in protection. It's basically behavior modification in a little box, with several tools designed to make aggressive people continually reassess the situation and, in most cases, back down. But, if needed, you have the protection in the form of a highly potent OC pepper stream that you can shoot as a last resort. Wisdom is also knowing when to use each element of this device in your particular situation. This training is simply a guide to help you recognize how some of those situations might play out and give you some options of how you might choose to react. As those in law enforcement will tell you, there are obviously some rare times when lethal force is needed to protect you or the people around you. The ProV2, however, in contrast, is non-lethal for all the other times when you recognize that your wisdom and your words combined with this thoroughly tested and proven system will, most of the time, be more than enough to talk the person down. Today you'll learn the philosophy and the psychology woven into every element of this ProV2 system. As Dr. Katie says in his report, this device exists at the intersection of psychology and technology. The ProV2 is designed around two key elements: prevention and protection. This is meant to help prevent the use of lethal force as often as possible and to protect you by preventing a situation before it even happens. The idea of this device is to save lives, prevent injury, and drastically reduce risk, along with the physical, financial, and emotional toll it can take. The idea is to keep you on the job, out of the courtroom, and of course, out of the news headlines the next day. So now we join Rose, Paul, and Larry in the classroom.
Hi, welcome to the training for the ProV2. This is part of your certification process. We hope that you've read the OODA report, OODA. We'll cover that a little bit tonight, but you need to read that. It'll be part of your test. We hope that you've read the Katie report. This gives you, from Dr. Lewis Katie, the documentation of why it works. This is a great paper by a neuropsychiatrist, Dr. Lewis Katie, from the Katie Wellness Institute, and he explains why he believes this is the best alternative today. My name is Larry Weaver. I am the managing partner at Deterrence Specialties, with the exclusive distributor of the ProV2 for North America. We've got to have a little humor to start off with. So my question is, are you still doing security in the old-fashioned way? The high risk of hands-on. One hospital had 90 injuries in it from hands-on encounters. But we should get rid of almost all hands-on if our system's right. Now, I know a lot about these guys right here. Okay? Why do I know a lot about them? Well, this fellow right here, standing up, is my son. And that one right there, he's on the bottom ready to get hit. My son was one of the top MMA fighters in the United States. He went through college on a wrestling scholarship. And these guys are trained to act quickly. My son's in his 40s now. He says, Dad, these young kids at 16, 18 years old know how to fight because they've been in MMA fighting quickly. So going hands-on, these guys are right here all have weight classes. How many have been around a wrestler? Huh? What do they have to do? What do they have to do?
Cut weight.
Cut weight. 2 or 3 days before. If they don't make the weight class, what? They're out.
They're disqualified.
Disqualified. So we got 10, these guys right here within 10 pounds of each other fighting. And still, at this time, we have men fighting men and women fighting women, you know. That's not true in security. It's not true in police. You have no idea who you are taking on. And with these big guys that are trained, you have a significant disadvantage. So the lessons we've learned is that someone can look perfectly fine, but you never know what's going on inside of them. And everyone has something going on inside.
Good people indeed can do bad things, and it's not something that they ought to have the death penalty over. There is a true need for a humane, accurate, effective way to de-escalate situations before they get to the point of physical conflict or assault.
Okay, that's Dr. Lewis Cady. Saw the unit immediately a year and a half ago and says this needs to be integrated into the system. How many of you would hire any of these guys? This guy might be a little goofy, right?
Sure.
But this guy is our pastor, right? Or a school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? And this guy right here looks like a lawyer, doesn't he?
Businessman.
Businessman, right? So there's nothing wrong with these guys. Now do we want to see the truth? This man worked for me 4 weeks earlier. He went on a killing spree near our town, killed 6 people. He had mental problems, was off his medicine. This fellow right here had a book written about him from Spokane, Washington. And that was the fellow that looked like the preacher. Okay? He lived across the street from my aunt and uncle. Talked to him several times. And this is the South Hill rapist. This fellow was actually in the real estate business, and my friend kept him as broker, and he knew he should have fired him, but he was a big name. So what is your 15-second to 30-second plan to deal with these people? How many people here practice UDA? People are sitting here looking, what are you talking about, Larry? I'm going to prove to you that all of us right now are practicing UDA. UDA stands for observe, orientate, decide, and act. This philosophy came up with Colonel Boyd from the Air Force when they studied pilots, the ones that survived and the ones that got shot down. And the ones that survived had instinct, they had planned, they had trained, they did not have to think. When you see brake lights, what do?
Brake. Slow down.
Hit the brake instantly. Do you have to think about it?
No.
No. That is a subconscious thought. Here's another one. Every one of these guys right here are practicing the UDA effect. They're observing what the other guy's doing. They're orientating themselves. And they're going to decide what they're going to do. And then they're going to act. And that's what we all do. Go get gas, go shopping, talk to somebody. Okay, now my wife, I have to explain this to my wife. This is a football. Okay? What side of it is hiking the ball? What are they called?
Offense.
Offense. Okay? And who's over here?
Defense.
Defense. Okay? This kind of represents armed officers are the offense. They're to enforce the law, can apprehend if they have to. That's their job. Defense over here is to stop the action, correct? That's the same as in security. Their job is to stop the action. They're to observe, report, and defend only, and that's what we're going to show you how to do. Basically, we're going to switch from the old paradigm of hands-on enforcement tools to a new and effective non-lethal system to deter violence before it even starts. Has society changed?
Greatly.
Dramatically.
So this is what we were raised in, a lot of us gray-haired people, correct? Me, Barry. Never locked your doors, never worried about anything. But now, this is the change right here. Good people can do bad things when they're pressed. Job loss, divorce, medicine, stress, chemical imbalance, all that. So we have to deal with them effectively without killing them. Legal liability costs. The average out-of-court settlement for lawsuits arising from workplace violence is $500,000. The average in-court settlement is $3 million, and it's going up. The additional cost of reporting time costs takes hours and hours and hours. Courtroom testimony. Paul can tell you he was in a 5-year courtroom deal, emotionally hard on everybody. Light duty, officer, 26 years, I talked to in Montana about 2 months ago, said, I've never seen so much violence. He said, this may end my career. Again, he was hands-on. And disability claims. One hospital, 90 hospital employees on disability and injury because of hands-on. We want to stop the hands-on. So here's the conclusion, folks. This is from Tom Ridge, said, manage risk or risk will manage you. You have to, with your OODA effect, develop it. What am I going to do? You have maximum of 30 seconds, 15 seconds, for you to be proactive like the guys on that line. And safety, without a doubt, is the most crucial investment we can make. The question is not what it cost us, but what it saves. Robert E. McKee, security specialist, risk manager. So our first goal is to deter the violence before it ever starts. We want to deal with it, the visibility of the unit, the next level. Document it, audio and visually, and de-escalate. We want to go through a planned system. And the final thing we want to do is defend ourselves, again, not aggressively. We are going to defend ourselves with non-lethal OC.
It is psychologically reasonable. It shows somebody that you are serious about what can be done, that you are recording them and documenting them, and then if needed, and most of the time it's not needed, but if it is deployed, it is extremely effective, and the confrontation is ended.
We deter bad behavior, the Guardian 8 ProV2. Department of Justice shows the laser pointer drastically increases compliance. People see it, they don't know what it is, and they say, I don't want to mess with it. So with that, I'm going to introduce Paul Sanchez.
Larry, I want to thank you for that introduction, and I've been involved in law enforcement for the last 26 years. I was in the military, U.S. Navy. Straight out of the Navy, I went into law enforcement in the state of New Mexico. There I worked for the Sheriff's Office as a sergeant. From there I went to Customs and Border Protection, and I retired up here at the Port of Blaine in Washington State. During my stint in the state of New Mexico, I was a senior training instructor for the state of New Mexico. With U.S. Customs and Border Protection, I was able to train here with firearms and some of the product that we used for self-preservation, self-protection. I was one of the very first trainers for the taser. But when I saw this, I knew that this was the future in self-defense. It is a layered defense system. The first level of defense in this system is, what is it?
The number one thing that if you notice, they don't know what it is, and that creates a deterrent.
It disorients them in order for you to take control of the situation.
The ProV2 has a sci-fi appearance.
First thought, Larry, was that this must be something out of Star Wars. I mean, it almost looks like a blaster.
And it has a strobe system on the front, a strobe light. When the strobe goes off, In the mind of a deranged subject, it's going to deter the action. And that's what you want to do. You want to stop the aggression.
And then if needed, and most of the time it's not needed, but if it is deployed, it is extremely effective, and the confrontation is ended.
Most perpetrators have planned something out in their mind over and over again. It's called the OODA effect.
It's difficult to break them out of that with just talking to them.
What we want to do is break up that chain.
You also have third-party call. As soon as you press the actuator for the third-party call, I'm automatically talking to 911. Deterrence. 9 out of 10, it's going to deter the action.
It's gone from aggression to preservation.
Mentally, what are you pointing at me? It's going to happen. It's going to happen 100% of the time. What are you pointing at me? Is that a taser? The dot, the red dot, it tells people I'm going to probably be hit with something. If the aggressor at this point gets aggressive,
You can pull the trigger and deploy the pepper spray right there between the eyes.
With the use of the ProV2, the laser spotter has been calibrated to 10 feet. But you don't want an assailant within 10 feet during an aggressive action. You want to keep the assailant 10 feet away from you, and keep in mind that if you do have to defend yourself, you put the red dot on the face, on the head, and use the pepper. Each canister contains 8 doses of pepper. And we can talk about a dose of pepper. It can be sprayed at a 3-second burst, and if you still have problems, another 3-second burst. Okay? So when you say 8 doses, it can be used multiple times under one canister. The precision stream is very effective within that 10 feet. Very effective. And we'll show you something here in a second that'll show that. We use stream, gel, and foam, preferably the gel. Our local NBC affiliate did a story on the ProV2. During the story, we were able to deploy the pepper spray in 2 bursts. 1 burst to the plate, 1 burst to this plate, with Larry's head in between, and there was no residue other than on the plates itself. That is the pepper spray at 10 to 12 feet. So it's very, very accurate.
It looks like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's not a gun. It's designed to avoid the use of a gun or even tasers, first through light and sound.
You don't know what it is, but you know it means business.
And if a bad situation continues to escalate,
So at 10 feet, it's going to hit exactly where I have the dot. There, there.
it will even shoot a stream of pepper spray right into a bad guy's face without that pepper spray fog.
Okay?
I'm in the middle. No.
None at all on him.
Larry Weber is the U.S. and Canadian distributor for the ProV2. Paul Sanchez is a retired sheriff's deputy and Border Patrol agent.
That's
hot.
Can you imagine that?
this is your face, your nose, you've ingested it, it's
Right.
in your eyes.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what it's going to do to an aggressor.
Right.
Light,
Just cayenne pepper, but wow.
just pepper. But look at the center being a non-combatant.
So as a police officer who's used pepper spray before,
This is wonderful because
because what would you get before when you would shoot the pepper spray?
everybody in the vicinity would become sprayed with pepper. The difference between that pepper and the way this is deployed is
It's a laser shot right between the eyes, and it will disable the person instantaneously.
so the video, the audio, the ability to defend yourself with the pepper spray. This is the next generation in deterring the aggressor.
You want to deter the situation. Working with the sheriff's department, working with law enforcement, it's always been told to me, you have 15 to 30 seconds to decide what you're going to do, whether you're going to be a victim or whether you're going to be a survivor. This ProV2 gives us that ability for the 30 seconds so that you can become a survivor. The strobe and the siren are part of that. What does that do? The noise tells everybody in the room, tells everybody around that something is happening over there. As soon as the noise goes off, the siren goes off, you now have witnesses to what's going on. What does that tell an aggressor? To run, to leave. So we're now deterring the aggressor. If need be, OC pepper spray is used only in your defense.
We are going to do 3 scenarios of dealing with a potentially aggressive person in a group setting. If you notice, I have the ProV2 under the coat, so it's not visible, so it's not threatening at this time.
Good morning. It's great to have all of you here in church today. It's an awesome day.
Sir, we need you to step back. Okay?
I want to talk to him.
Sir, I need you to step back.
Who are you?
I'm here for the protection of everybody. I need you to step back. You're being aggressive, so can you just not be
I'm
aggressive?
not being aggressive. I just want to talk to the pastor.
Sir, we'll make that arrangement after the service. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Let's walk out right now and we'll talk about it. Okay. We want to stop the aggression by just talking. It's called verbal judo. So just start talking to the person, but you notice I stepped back so he could not get to me. Our first phrase is, sir, you're being aggressive and I need you to stop. Sir, I feel threatened. Please stop. Sir, please stop, or I'm going to have to document this situation. If you notice, I have my hand on the unit. I'm at the ready. And I can activate the unit if I have to immediately, but I am still hoping we can talk this down. Sir, if I have to deholster the unit, it will start recording audio and visual evidence of your aggressive behavior. Please stop.
In some states, you have to tell them that they are being recorded, both audio and video. Or it can be programmed to pictures if video is not allowed in your state.
We still want to talk him down, but we are going to display the ProV2 very prominently.
The arming switch. It's an ambidextrous switch on both sides of the ProV2. It's located right here on both sides. Your second level is your communication. It does pair with your Bluetooth, which is your cell phone. It has a sonic sounder, which is a siren, and it has a strobe light.
Put the laser over his eye. I have asked you to stop your threatening behavior, and I will call 911 if it continues. At this level, I have 2 choices. I can push the button. It will automatically call the number I have programmed in here.
You can actually hear and talk through the ProV2 to the 911 operator as the incident is occurring. You now have a third-party listener as to what's going on. And what a better listener to have than a 911 operator. So I'm going to say, yeah, my name is Paul Sanchez, and I have somebody who's being really, really obnoxious here, and he might be getting violent. I need some help.
If you take 1 step towards me, I will defend myself. And this is being recorded. If it doesn't work at that level, our goal now is to use sight and sound to disrupt their aggressive behavior and their thought patterns of aggression. If you do a half trigger pull, it will automatically call the number that you have preset in the unit with the pre-recorded message you can put on here.
This is a call coming from a ProV2 security device in the field. I am working at the Acme Corporation at 16th and Laughlin Boulevard. I am in need of assistance. The following is live audio of the incident.
The half trigger pull. Once you do the half trigger pull, you go into the strobe and you go into the siren. Again, Dr. Katie had mentioned the psychology behind it. As soon as you hit them with the strobe light and the noise, that causes that breakup of the OODA effect.
To disrupt the aggressive behavior. At this point, we try one last time to talk them down. And if that doesn't work, and the aggression continues, keep the red dot between their eyes and deploy the pepper.
That is enough on one aggressor. I still have enough in here in this canister to go 3 or 4 more rounds.
If you've deployed the pepper, you need to do 2 things. Download the audio and video to a secure port, and then you need to remove the battery, take the can of OC out, and then replace that canister with a water canister and flush the unit if it's been used with OC. We don't want that dried gel in the unit because it could jam it. So flush the unit if it's been used with OC spray.
The ProV2 is just remarkable, where you go from laser sight on the floor to pulling it up and saying, I am recording this, and we are recording it in audio and video.
And the evidence that is kept in this machine could be used in the court of law. That recording could be downloaded onto a secured computer through your IT person, and it could be put on a secure disk and given to the police for later investigation or as evidence. Dates, times, timestamps, everything's on there. You just have to get with your IT person. It's documented when it happened. That's about it for me, and now we're going to turn it over to Rose Weaver so she can talk about her favorite aspects about the ProV2.
Hi there. My name is Rose Weaver. After I graduated high school, I went to the Army basic training, and I was trained on using the M16 rifle as well as some other deadly weapons, and I have not used them for the last 40 years. I am not comfortable with any of those deadly weapons, but yet I can use this ProV2 and it will be a defensive system for me against somebody who is being aggressive towards me. It's a lightweight tool. It's easy to use. It's non-lethal. I don't have to worry about seriously injuring somebody. I don't like the idea of firearms in my home. I don't like the idea of using a firearm myself. The ProV2 comes in different layers according to the situation and the threat at hand. It is something that I would not expect to be using all the time, and one of the issues with that would be, supposing I picked it up and it wasn't charged. The battery hadn't been charged because I haven't used it for a while. Even though the battery is not charged, it will work at the moment that I really need that ultimate defense because it's a mechanical system. And now I'm going to bring Larry back up to finish up this segment.
We talk to customers all over the United States. This is really one of the big issues is the court costs, as we mentioned before. Liability. The ProV2 helps solve that problem. It de-escalates it, but then it documents the incident so you cut your liability down if you do have to go to court. Second is the risk. Your risk factor is you're dealing with aggressive people, but you're not creating a potentially lethal damage. We want to keep hands off, 10 feet away. Again, the documentation, both audio and visually, and depending on your court, your city, or your state, you can separate the audio and visual. So if only one is usable, you've got it. And affordability, back to the statement, what is the cost? Very affordable if it prevents one incident from you going to court.
Mr. Weaver, I was wondering, how long is the battery life?
Well, it'll go up to 76 hours. Usually we say it should be on a standby position, but if it's used heavily during the day, then we recommend you recharge it. We treat it like your phone, and that you charge it at the end of every shift every day. That would be our recommendation.
So with this device, we should never ever go hands-on.
Our recommendation is, and our whole design of the system is you should not go hands-on. You want to keep the 10 feet safe distance, and in the training, the last level is if you take one step more towards me, I will defend myself. And at that level, you pull the trigger. The big problem we have is the people get too close. Keep your distance. You need time and distance for you to make a good decision. Spray him, step back. Spray him, step back. We are in a defensive posture. And you put that pepper spray, his number one concern is going to be seeing and breathing.
So I can just use this at home? I don't have to be a security officer or a trained officer of any type at all. I can just be grandma at home.
That is correct. It is a non-lethal device. We would recommend that you watch the videos and take the training if you want to, but you don't need to be. When I was back in Washington, D.C., we were presenting this with several agencies. 3 of the staff members, 2 of the congressmen, when I was back there last, says, my wife wants one of these. The chief of staff of one congressman said, I want to wear one of these on my belt when I'm walking through the park. Aggressive people look for weak people. We live in a violent society, and if you look weak, they take advantage of you. So this gives, if you're out with your grandkids walking around, You have it at home. You are surprising them, not them surprising you. So the ProV2, prevention and protection, limiting assault and injury, crime and combative behavior, lawsuits and liability, regret and loss. Just the look of this will deter the majority of all aggression. But the facts are, we do live in violent times, and you have no idea when or where it's going to happen. So we hope you become prepared to effectively defend yourself and de-escalate a potential violent action. You need to study, you need to practice, as you help save lives and deter bad behavior. And again, we really appreciate your participation.
The ProV2. Prevention, protection. The ProV2. Because wisdom is your best weapon.